The last thing that I'm going to let happen is die with unrealized potential still in my gut, in my heart. So in all my years in motorsports, I have traveled thousands of miles, and I used to have so much time up in front of our motorhome with my grandfather. And I've learned probably the majority of my life lessons of just kind of mentorship. I've learned so much from him driving those miles. Well, one day he kind of pulled off the road, and all of a sudden, we're taking this detour, which he was kind of known to do anyway. And we pull up, and there's a cemetery in front of us. And he looks over at me, he says, "Bryce, what do you see?" And I say, "I don't know. I mean, a bunch of graves, the tombstones. I don't know, Grandpa, this is getting kind of weird. What's up?" But he looks over at me, he says, "Bryce, the majority of potential on earth ends up buried right here in one of these." And man, that messed me up because I had goals, I had dreams in life. But in that moment, I realized, man, the last thing that I'm going to let happen is die with unrealized potential still in my gut, in my heart. I can't let that happen. Because all of us, we get so caught up in surviving life, don't we? I mean, we're trying to pay bills, we're keeping up with the status quo, and a lot of times it kind of cripples us a little bit with inaction. But I think for me, though, it's all driven by ego sometimes. Sometimes we get so focused on our projects that we forget about the people that we're going through this life with. And I had a really good lesson, though, back in high school. It was my senior year, and our soccer team had just lost this really big game. And I was a senior. I was so mad. I was furious. Yelled at a kid. I mean, I got into it with this perfectly fine freshman player, but it kind of triggered our coach that night after we got back from our team meal. He said, "Guys, we can't let the confusion come into this team and hurt our culture just because you've got issues with somebody." He said, "We've got to go to each other. If you've got issues, go to that person before you get off this bus, confront them about it, and talk it out." Well, I expected, okay, I'd already made amends with that kid that I already yelled at and such. And I thought, I'll probably have one or two people that I need to apologize to some stuff for. I had a line of 8 or 9 people waiting to talk to me. I am sitting on the back of the bus, and one after the next are talking to me and confronting me about things I'd either done or said or didn't do for them. And the nicest kid ever, his name was Ricky. Ricky, when he came up, he was like 4th in line. And I didn't see him until he was right in front of my face. But I thought, "Ricky, not you." Like, if I've offended Ricky, like, I'm probably just a bad person. But it was because I was so project focused over people focused that it really started getting in the way of me beginning to be a value add to our culture. But it was because I was almost focused on the ego side of what I was doing. Ego, usually it takes the form of insecurity. It's kind of that fear of rejection, and we all allow that to drive us at some point in life. But there's this book. It's called The Slight Edge. A guy named Jeff Olson wrote it, and he was a salesman back earlier in his career. And he struggled because he cared so much about what others would think of him that he had that crippling fear of rejection. And he talks about he's in a doctor's office one day, and he grabs this magazine to read, and there's this article. And the article mentions statistically that on average, only 10 people are going to cry at your funeral. He says statistically, only 50% of the people that come to the service are going to decide to go to your burial site if it's raining. And he couldn't believe it. I mean, here we are, the guy's laying there. It's at the grand conclusion of everything that he's done in his life, and all the people that he truly has said that cares about him and that he cares about. And they're going to make the decision to go to watch him be put in the ground based on the weather outside. And it was that moment he let go that fear of rejection. And his sales career took off, but it wasn't just his career. It was his relationship with his family and his friends, and he began to start prioritizing making memories with them. You see, when I die, and when you die, but my casket, it's going to be supported by 6 to 8 pallbearers, right? Kind of depends on my dad bod at the time. Maybe that's going to be my big goal at the end of my life, is whether or not I get that grandpa belly. I think I kind of want one of those if I make it that long. But in that moment, I want to focus, though, on making memories with that core group that's going to end up carrying me to put me in the ground. But not only that, I mean, what if we had 6 to 8 people lifting us up right now while we're still alive? Why not wait until we're actually dead to have people support us? And why would we ever wait to go and be that support from other people? You know, the lasting impact comes from being that real life support for someone else that we know. And understanding how to pour into others and encourage them and support them, that also draws people to do the same for us. So let's not wait until that person in our life is in the casket to go lift them up. Let's fight for them today. You know, that day in the cemetery with my grandfather, before he pulled out and got back on the highway to go to that race, he said, "Bryce, when you saw that tombstone," he said, "it's not the 2 dates on that tombstone. It's the dash in the middle that counts." Amen to that.